Sean McCann is one of the founders of Great Big Sea, and he has, in the last couple of years, become one of the most passionate and outspoken advocates for mental health in this country. He's joined the conversation, become a leader in the fight against mental illness and addiction issues. He's talked openly about his own struggles. He's written music about it and shared that music. I had the chance to talk with Sean once before, and I was so impressed with the message that he was sharing. Wanted to have him back on the show, and he's been traveling a lot, but he is back in Ottawa, and he's with us this morning on Ottawa Today. Good morning, Sean.
Good morning, Mark. Thanks for having me back.
Great to have you here, and like I say, I remember the interview we did a couple of years ago when you shared your story, and it was so powerful. But I'm going to ask you to share it again because I think there are always people who are hearing it for the first time, and whenever somebody comes forward and says, here's what I've been through, especially somebody with the profile and success that you've had, it opens doors for other people. It gives them some cover and gives them a connection, and maybe they can say, you know what, I'm going to come forward and I'm going to talk to somebody in my life about what I've been through. So tell us a little bit about your journey. Well,
I think I agree with what you just said. And I've learned on my journey that a secret can kill you. Like a secret, nothing gets solved by keeping them. And the only way to defeat a secret is to tell it. So that's by way of explanation why I've chosen this path. And almost 5 years ago, Mark, I quit drinking. And I've come from I came from the Great Big Sea Band, which was a fairly big party band.
Yeah.
And where drink was fairly accessible, really accessible, and always around. And so it was a bit of a deal for me to become sober. And shortly after I did, I started to first of all, I felt very isolated, which I found that is a common thread among people who are in recovery. And I lost a lot of friends. So I also started to remember why I started to drink in the first place. And I was sexually abused when I was a teenager by my Roman Catholic priest in parish. And that left me feeling full of shame and anger. And in fact, he served me my first drink, like that put me on a path. And this is why, and I didn't know who to talk to about it at the time or what to do. I just decided to bury that, and I used alcohol to do that. So that went on, and that was the state, my state of being for 30 years. And, it never got better. And alcohol never solved the problem. So when I started to sober up, I remembered this part of my life, which I'd completely shut down. And because I felt isolated, because I lost a lot of friends, when you quit drinking, that will happen, because they don't know what to do with you, really. They don't know what to make of you. And I started to, I really wanted to drink, obviously, I was tempted. Certainly the first year was really hard, and I didn't reach for the whiskey this time or the wine. I reached for my guitar, Old Brown. And I started to write songs, not about drinking, obviously, but about change and about moving forward and about facing your problem and owning your past. And I've managed to use music as medicine, it is my therapy. It is how I did it. This guitar, this Old Brown right here, is how I managed to navigate those very difficult times. And it worked. I put out the record called Help Yourself on Twitter and Facebook, basically. No labels, no anything. And it was a very personal record, and it resonated with thousands of people. And what I heard back was, I know that song. That song's my mother. I know that song. That song's my brother. That's my lover. That's me. And it gave me a sense of comfort in the sense that I realized I was not alone. Another huge lesson to learn. And without those experiences, I wouldn't have been successful. And I don't really have any regrets about my decisions were not easy ones, and the path has not been easy, but I'm really glad that I had music in my life, and I was able to face that and destroy that secret. And that's why I've been open to speak to what you said earlier, and that's why I'll continue to be this way, because this is what sustains me now.
Was it a leap, though? Was there a moment where you thought, do I really want to be talking about this? Do I really want to be out there with this and expose myself, right?
I've decided to. My life previous to my sobriety was one of secrets, and it was insincere. Like people, another big comment when they come to my shows is the people come up to me and they say, "We had no idea. We've seen you for 20 years in that band, and we had no idea who you were," because I projected a caricature, a cartoon. I was the shanty man. And it was not a sincere representation of who I really am. And I didn't know who I was. I certainly wasn't going to share it. I was ashamed of who I was. But now I'm here, and I'm present. And I'm here to say that that's the best way to live. I believe that that's worth the trouble. But you can't be that if you're hiding from something. And that's what I was essentially doing. And I'm proud of the work I did, and I think Great Big Sea served a great function. But people now understand, because I've been open, they're like, "Oh, that's why you left." I left because every day I went to work, there was a bottle of whiskey, 4 bottles of wine, and 48 beer on the desk. You know, it wasn't a good place for me to stay. And if you look at what I'm talking about now, it's not about, the old black rum. It's about how to get beyond it. They're diametrically opposed positions.
Yeah. Well, and as you talk about this, I just think about how much the music industry and performing and playing late at night and all of that's so intertwined with drinking, isn't it? And it's a big part of that lifestyle.
It is, and it's not for everybody. I mean, but it is. In our case, Great Big Sea was if you look at the lyrics, I mean, we were a big proponent of alcohol consumption and good times, and defer your problems. That was if we had a message at all, it was that. And my message now is face them. Take it on, embrace it, do the work, come out the other side. And I do a lot of, whenever I can, I do public speaking now. A lot of it is in the field of mental health, and I do a lot of hands-on volunteering with people in trouble, addicts and mental health, with people with issues who essentially, when I go and talk to them, because I have this experience that was kind of unique in the sense that my access, the environment I was in was okay. There was no too drunk for me. I was expected to have a drink every day or more than one, and so to come out of that environment, if the guy from Great Big Sea can quit drinking, then you can. It's achievable, because I was tempted more than most humans will be.
Sure.
And I'm here to say that it's doable and it's worth doing. If you have a problem, a lot of people say, I think I get a lot of correspondence now, and I try to answer everybody, but it's like a lot of it goes like, I think I might have a problem. Well, if you think you do, I'm pretty sure you do, and because if that's on your mind, only because I know from experience that that's likely the case. And, I just think I've learned, I just feel like I've come alive. I'm awake. I'm here. I'm 49 years old, and I'm finally back. And I feel re-energized. I love singing songs. Songs got me through this terrible hard time, and if I can share that with people, and that's what I do. And at the NAC on October 22nd, I'll be at the NAC. I've managed to partner with a lot of small theaters across Canada where I find my authentic self can be and is allowed and is accepted. And what I try to do is sing with people. Singing is a very intimate thing to do, a very powerful experience. And that's what I do. It's not a downer show. It's a triumphant show. I'm here. I've passed through this, and I feel really good now, better than I've ever felt in my life. So if people can see that on my face, and that's generally the comment I get, we didn't realize, this is who you were, and look at how happy you look, so good. It's like, yeah, well, I've done this work, and I'm happy to be here now, not hiding.
Was there a moment where you realized that this wasn't just going to be therapeutic for you, but it was also going to start to have an impact on other people? Were there certain people that reached out to you and said, hey, this is really resonating with me. It's changing my outlook about my own situation, or somebody close to me, and you started to realize this could actually become more than just your way of dealing with it, but also something that was going to change other people's lives?
Yeah, like when Help Yourself came out, again, just on Twitter and Facebook, I'm having a hard time keeping up with all the social medias. Apparently now I have to go Instagram, Snapchat. I don't know what else to do, but I mean, Facebook seems to be consistently there. But the people, it really did resonate, and it's given me, it really encouraged me that people, I guess it's sad that there's so many people that affects, addiction affects, mental health affects, sexual abuse. It's so prevalent, and it's easier not to admit that. Far easier not to talk about it. But that, in my experience, that will not solve the problem. And I'm interested in solving the problem. And one of the first ways you can do is be open about it, tell your secrets, and face them. It's not the easiest path, but if you want to solve it, if you just don't want to face your problems, that's one thing. And alcohol is great for that. But if you actually want to be alive and on the planet and present, then it's hard to ignore them soberly, right? But I think the first time, the response online was huge. But when I first did a speaking gig, or when I first talked to people about it openly, it really affected them, and I could see it in their eyes. And it was a hard story to tell, and I tell it often, and it hurts every time. But every time I feel like I defeated again. I've just beaten that thing again. And I come out the other side, and when I do that in front of people, and I walk into a room soberly, tell my story, and then walk out okay and happy, that sends a pretty big message to people that this is achievable. And if that's what I'm supposed to do, then that's what I do. And my show's not all about message. My show is about, like, this is how it works. This guitar and my voice together with yours, we're going to overcome whatever's on your mind. And this is going to take a big step. And it gives me a sense of purpose. It really does. And I think what was lacking from my life, I was so consumed with hiding from it. I mean, if I have any regrets about Great Big Sea, my efforts there, I wish I'd said more or done more. I could have. I had certainly a bigger commercial audience that I could have affected. Probably wouldn't have been interested in what I'm saying now. But I wish I had.
October 22nd at the National Arts Center.
Yeah, I'm going to dress up, going to wear a tie, pants, slacks, as we call them. My wife has dressed me. I have a costume ready to go.
Okay, good. We'll talk more about that show, and you're going to play something for us in a couple of minutes? Yeah,
I'm going to do some Ozzy Osbourne.
Sean has some great songs that he has written about his own situation, and just some really... It's really going to touch you. I know that. Sean McCann is our guest, formerly with Great Big Sea, now one of the most passionate advocates for mental health and one of the most powerful speakers on addiction issues that I've heard. He's going to continue with us coming up on Ottawa Today.